A very warm welcome to everyone out there watching. My name is Teemu Vorho and I'm commentating on today's Classic Vintage Racers race. Round number 8 in the Golden Era Championship. And today, as you can see in live pictures, we are at the Eiffel Mountains in Germany. And today, the round 8 of the championship is to be the 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen, which famously was the opening round for the Nürburgring track. So, a very warm welcome once again to each and every one of you at home watching. If you're new to the series, we could go and have a look what is the Golden Era Championship here at Classic Vintage Racers. It's driven on Assetto Corsa simulator and it focuses on the historic Grand Prix of the gone by era from 1922 all the way to 1939, to the beginning of the Second World War. And as I said, today is round number 8 in the championship. And many more are yet to come. In the race schedule, we opened up in 8th of February this year. And we're not even at the halfway point right now. Overall, there are 25 rounds in this championship. And in the schedule, the last and final race is to be held on the 7th of February 2027. So a long way to go, but we have already come a long way in this championship. And an exciting one today. Free practice on the way. About 4 minutes left on free practice for this one. And after that we have a 10-lap race ahead of us at the Nürburgring GEC, which is the most lengthy one of the layouts ever to be used at the Nürburgring. It includes also the famous or infamous, either you wanna call it Nordschleife, part of the circuit, but also some other parts which are, well, in the modern era not used anymore. But forget about the modern era, we're in the 1920s right now, driving the Golden Era Championship. And some details about the series as a whole. The drivers can purchase and sell their cars along the way. This series, they get payouts by finishing the races. But also, they have repair costs for crashes that they endure during the races, so it's a bit complicated system at first, but once you get into it, it brings a lot of spice into what would otherwise just be just another vintage sim series. For example, if we go through the last race in France and the aftermath of that, we were at Miramas driving then. Some repair fees for Rui Lazaro, 15,000 credits. Vesa Tolonen acquired 10,000 credits in repair fees, and then 5,000 credits to repairs went to Kai Syversten, Lippi and Thomas Kuusela. And also Vesa Tolonen didn't get any finishing prize for himself as he DNF'd from the race. So a bit of troubles for Vesa. At this point of the championship. But some history about the Nürburgring, even though I'm sure it's very familiar to many of you watching. But as we are in the 1927 year, we could go through some material that Vesa Tolonen kindly scripted for me up in the commentator's booth. So the 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen, pardon for my German, stands for opening a race. It marked the grand debut of the Nürburgring on 18th and 19th of June 1927, introducing what would become one of the world's most iconic circuits, as we all know. And the track was commissioned by the Eiffel government to boost local economy and to provide a dedicated test and racing venue for Germany's growing automotive industry. And the track was designed by a man called Gustav Eichler. And this layout was to be at the length of 28.3 kilometers, combining the nowadays known Nordschleife, which is 22.8 kilometers, and the Südschleife, 7.7 kilometers. And the idea was to be a rival, or maybe even go past the famous circuits like Targa Florio and Monza at that time. But as we know nowadays, it has gained quite the reputation for being one of the most dangerous circuits out there. Green hell, as you would call it. But this is, in a nutshell, the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke, which combines the Nord and the Südschleife layouts. And free practice is about to end. And right now, in the timing sheets, Haley Smith holds the first position. And we of course don't have a qualifying, because well, it wasn't invented then, in the 1927 year. Qualifying was invented in the 1930s, so to be a good series and simulate the era properly, the grid is determined by a ballot, and we can go through the actual grid right now. You should see it on your screens as we speak. So the starting grid for this race: on pole position, first row, we have Withoet. Next to him, Van der Meijde, Uotila and Renaud. In second row, Pereira stands alongside Lippi and Vesa Tolonen. In 7th position, third row, Nurmi, Salvaro, Crozet and Smith, Haley Smith, who was the quickest in the free practice, which we just saw. In 4th row, 12th place, Tromke. Alongside him, Lefredge and Lubomirski. Pardon if I pronounce your name incorrectly. Some of these names are new to me, so hang with me. 5th row, In 15th place, Surve Kuusela, FJQ Megias, and Gear Axle. In 6th row, Jossens, Canedo, Lobkov, and 7th row, Lazaro, Lach, Henry, and Korkiakoski. And in the 8th row, we have Anssi Hytienen, Markus Peltonen, and Syversten in the last grid spot. And let's go quickly through the standings before round 8 tonight. And as we can see, Anssi Hytienen and Eetu Nurmi are tied on points, 205 for each, and not far behind is Markus Peltonen with 196 points. Henry in 4th place with 156, and Vesa Tolonen completing the top 5, only 3 points behind Henry. Hailey Smith also close by, only 1 point behind Tolonen, and the rest you can see on your screens. So this was the point standings before this round. We're waiting for final lap times before we're heading into the race session. So ahead of us 10 laps of the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke. Combined track, if my German knowledge serves me right. And the conditions out there, quite torrential rain is pounding the track, and to my knowledge it should remain this way for the majority of the evening, so a challenging 2.5 hours for the drivers ahead, that's to be sure. But Withoet is in the front row on pole position. And now we have about 4.5 minutes before we go out there racing. But let's go through some witty facts about this series and the specifications. The drivers have 4 different tire compounds to use, from the smooth tire, which, well, it gives a lot of grip being a smooth tire, but with these conditions, not so sure. I would personally go for the light stud tire, which, when I look at the live timings, everyone is using right now. It's a good all-around tire, and especially in the wet conditions we have right now, it should serve the drivers well. Although it may have less grip, but it should be more reliable than the smooth tire, for example. Some may use even the heavy stud tire, which is more meant for like dirt roads and more rough surfaces, but it may lack in speed. And there's also the option for heavy stud ice tire, but well, I don't think we're gonna use it today. And also, the fact is present in this race also throughout the series, of course, that the car can malfunction, either through a collision or just a mechanical failure, and it may cause some extra pit stops throughout this race. And there might be the fact that you get stuck on a ditch. Well, especially here in the Nürburgring, it might be a factor, and this series uses some extra configurations so the drivers can simulate to push their car out of the ditch and back on the road. So in Assetto Corsa terms, it just teleports your car back on the road, and it also resets your tires, so it may have some complications when you use that function. And of course you have to ignite your engine manually with these cars. And also during the race you have to be aware of your engine temps. Although today with these cool conditions, 15 degrees Celsius only, both the air and track temperature right now, so I don't think overheating will be an issue unless you break your radiator by crashing, but that might not play such a big part today. And of course we're gonna see pit stops, refueling, repairs, tire changes. But all this, and I'm sure a lot more to come during these next 2.5 hours. So once again, a warm welcome. You're watching Classic Vintage Racers and their Golden Era Championship Round 8 at the Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen. The 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen, opening race for that year, is about to begin. Not opening race for this series, but this is what we're simulating here. And don't be bothered about those weird cubes on the track. It's a, well, bug or a feature, how you wanna see it on this track, but let's not be bothered about it. 15 seconds until the start and the lights go out. Daniel Withoet with his Alfa Romeo on the pole position. Next to him, Kari Uotila. Everything is ready. And the race is on, and someone stalls on the grid, I see. And Withoet is overtaken by Kari Uotila. Uotila goes to take the first position, but Tolonen and Nurmi follow him suit. And I think Nurmi takes the first place when we head out of the main straight. And onto the Südschleife. And there are some chaos on the background. Brick Crosset is out on the first turn. And more chaos. Alex Henry, Rui Lazaro having some trouble. And the pole sitter, Daniel Withoet, also out on the first turn. So some drama, and Withoet again out. And he's joined by Pereira, Moises Pereira, also out on the second corner. So I think some repairs are due after this first lap. And Lippi has also got his Bugatti out of the starting grid as Hayley Smith challenges Kari Uotila for second place. And I think Smith does it, yeah. Completes the pass and gets up to second place. And where is Tolonen? Tolonen has dropped to 6th place. He was right in the top 3 on the start straight, but I think he has some issues, yeah. It seems so. Trundling around. He's being overtaken, so I think he's broke something from the car. He's driving the Delage 15S8, which was rumored to be the car to beat today, but at the hands of Tolonen right now it's not looking too great. And also Hayley Smith has dropped. He has some issues, yeah. Ow, and Ledoux Renault smashes into the fencing there. So I have to say, quite many guys also getting into trouble. already on lap 1. But that's not to be said about Eetu Nurmi, who takes the lead and already has about 7 seconds gained on Kari Uotila. Kent Lefredge is in 3rd place right now. Behind him Thomas Kuusela, who's had a good start. Kuusela, a really good start. As we look back at Tolonen, who is... he will have a painful lap back to the pits. The 28 kilometers with that damaged car. So does Hailey Smith and many other drivers. May have their dreams shattered. But now the first drivers are coming back from the Südschleife and heading to the more famous Nordschleife part of the track. Here we see Thomas Kuusela, who goes past Kent Lefredge, and Kuusela takes 3rd place. Good pass by Kuusela before we head to Nordschleife. Here we can see the pole sitter Daniel Withoet, who's dropped back to P15. As we see, Hailey Smith, is his race over? The Delage is parked right at the junction where we would head from the Südschleife back to Nordschleife, and it's looking pretty grim for Hailey Smith right now. We have to keep an eye on the situation. But Smith has dropped the second to last, as Mick Tromke is still making his way on the Südschleife. Aye, there we go. Daniel Withoet spins the car. Was there contact with Tirano Salvaro? Couldn't see that one, but Withoet can continue on his way. He might get some company from Rui Lazaro and Moises Pereira behind in a short minute. Here we have a good battle. As we go to Flugplatz for the first time, Markus Peltonen makes some ground. He is followed by Anssi Hyytiäinen, and these two know each other really well from the digital racetracks. Both modern and classic. But Peltonen at the moment keeps his 6th place. But we have to take a bow for Eetu Nurmi at this point. 12-second lead over Kari Uotila. And we haven't done half a lap yet. Really good job by Nurmi. And after Kuusela got past Lefredge, Kai Syversten has also caught up with the Canadian. Lefredge driving the Bugatti Type 35B. Having a 2.3 liter engine in the T35. Might have to put that in good use, as as Syvertsen is pressuring him, driving the deadlage. 15 as 8. Oh, and a bit of a mistake from Lefredge. And does that open an overtaking spot for Syvertsen? He's looking for it, but at the moment Lefredge is putting his car in the right places. And something has happened to Kuusela also ahead, as we can see. The gap was nearly 10 seconds back to P4, but now we can see Kuusela from the onboard of Syvertsen as Lefredge has a wide moment. Really wide moment, but Syvertsen himself has some trouble going to the bottom of the hill. But both survive. Live to fight another day. And Lefredge also keeps his 4th place for the time being. But I think it's a matter of time. Rather matter of when rather than if Syvertsen comes past Lefredge. The pace he has is far superior to the Bugatti driver right now, but the problem is, where do you pass on the Nordschleife? Apparently there goes Syvertsen and goes around the outside. Great move. And Peltonen has also joined the duo and wants to get that P5 from the Canadian and goes by on the straights. So I wonder if Lefredge has some mechanical issues in his Bugatti. Because the pace difference is quite significant. And the people who crashed on the first lap, we can maybe start. Well, there's another moment for Tirano Salvaro. He gets passed by Daniel Withoet, the pole sitter for this race. But starting from P13, Withoet was the first one to get into trouble, and after him these are the drivers that have crashed already on the opening lap, as Anssi Hyytiäinen makes a place on Kent Lefredge before we head to the Caracciola Carousel. But maybe we shouldn't call it the Caracciola Carousel since this is the opening race for the Nürburgring. And we wouldn't know that name yet. And good battles all along the field. This is for 9th place Yuri Lobkov, who's driving the Talbot 700. Which from the car selection was named the underdog for this season. Well, he's doing pretty fine, I would say. He's keeping Alex Henry and Ledu Renaud behind him. With even some margin. Oh, there we see Ken Lefredge is around, and also Anssi Hytiäinen in the same corner. So trouble for Ken Lefredge and Anssi Hytiäinen, both carry on. Lefredge drops back to 8th place, Hytiäinen drops to 6th. And something also happened to Syvertsen, because the gap to Peltonen is right about 20 seconds between P4 P5, and Syvertsen was ahead of Peltonen some time ago. But right now Peltonen is catching up to Thomas Kuusela. Meanwhile, Eetu Nurmi in the lead of this race. He's heading to the Döttinger for the first time. And in a minute's time he would have completed his first lap of the race, 10-lap race, as I said earlier. But what will come of these two, Kuusela and Peltonen, very close quarters, and Kuusela little bit wide before the long straight. And I think Peltonen has a striking chance. Or some lag here. Apologies for that, but after we come to this dimension, Peltonen has got past Kuusela. Both are driving the Delage 15S8, and Peltonen takes P3 from Kuusela. Nurmi has already started lap 2 of the race, so we'll soon have Uotila. He comes to the main straight and he begins his second lap. Peltonen has already dropped Kuusela by a few seconds after passing him. And still the rain keeps pounding the Nürburgring circuit, so no visible improvement in conditions at the moment. Although some lighter skies are in the distance, we can still see that the rain is quite substantial at this point. Geir Axlen, the Norwegian driver, comes to make a pit stop from lap 1. The Bugatti driver makes his first pit stop, and I'm sure he's not the only one to do so on this lap, because there were so many incidents. And to get back to Haley Smith, I think his race is over for today. Unfortunately, he's sitting in the pit lane, and we saw that he parked his car right after completing the Südschleife for the first time. So an unfortunate end for Smith's evening, because he was having some really great pace, to be honest. He topped the free practice before this race, so... Oh, and Alex Henry, he's had an off. can't quite tell where to be exact. I suspect somewhere in the Suchlife portion of the track. And there are some... Oh, and Henry out again. Oh, and that looked quite dangerous. But they survived that. That could have been disastrous for both of them. But yeah, there are a few drivers who opted to use the heavy stud tire. Moises Pereira and Lippi both using the heavy stud tire at this point of the race, so you could say that they maybe weren't comfortable with the conditions we're having, and they opted to use the more safe tire, I guess, but again, not the most speedy tire, as Daniel with Hoet has another out, chasing Teofil Lubomirski. Lubomirski gets away with it with maybe a couple extra heartbeats, but that's all with Hoet, with quite a hefty hit to the fencing. No challenger for Eetu Nurmi at this point. Over 40 seconds is the gap behind to P2 Kari Uotila, as he heads to Flugplatz for a second time today, in the race at least. And Peltonen has also caught Uotila. So has Uotila had an off somewhere? I would suspect so, because the pace has dropped quite a lot. Now they're heading up to Flugplatz. Oh, and Peltonen crashes. He hits the barrier on the bridge, and Peltonen, I think he could be out of this race. The engine is still running, but yeah, Peltonen is out. Quite strange, because it looked like he just drove straight into the guardrail on the bridge. Well, Peltonen opts to exit the pit once again, but he will be starting his second lap. And he was already on the Nordschleife portion of the track, so that will be a significant drop. He drops back to P19 behind Herula. P11 and 12 in our pictures right now. Alex Henry and Rui Lazaro. Portuguese driver chasing the Dutchman. Nothing coming out of that one for the time being. We switch to Drick Crosset, who passes Lippi for 14th place. Lippi drops back to 15th. We're on lap 2 out of 10. And what we can say at this point is that the rain is really throwing some challenges to the drivers. Some getting through those a little bit better than others. But it's a long race, so even though Nurmi leads by 40 seconds, it can be nothing in the end. So I wouldn't... Nothing against Nurmi, but I wouldn't bet on him just yet. Crozet is catching Moises Pereira in front. And as you can see, the conditions are quite appalling as we drop down to the foxhole, Fuchsröhre, with these guys. And as you can see quite visibly, the puddles are quite large on the edges of the track, so you don't wanna go there. You may not have fun time. Daniel with Hoet having some trouble. Some contact made. With local bushes. Nothing quite dramatic. Also Lubomirski having some trouble. He's facing the wrong way, and it's a quite narrow part of the circuit, so I hope that he can get... This is quite the Austin Powers moment here. Not the 3-point turn quite, but Teofil Lubomirski gets his delage pointing in the right direction. But Daniel with Hoet overtakes him during that episode. But that could have been much worse in the end, so Lubomirski got quite lucky with that one. Although I don't think he feels quite lucky. Tolonen and his troublesome evening. Makes him sit on 19th place. At the moment Peltonen has come by. And out of the frame, Moises Pereira, I think, has DNF'd from this race. He is invisible in the server anymore, so that's unfortunate for Pereira. His race has ended as Peltonen takes P17 from La. So let's hope Peltonen stays away from the walls for the remainder of this evening, because I'm quite fascinated to see where he can climb up. I know he has the pace. He has shown it today too, but if you're joining just now, he had a quite a big crash half a lap ago, so he had to continue his race from the pit lane. Almost a lap behind. And that can be quite a big error in the end, because if we look at the standings, Peltonen was in P3 in the season standings after round 7. Only behind Nurmi and Hytinen, and Nurmi is right now standing very firmly in P1. And Hytinen also very strongly in the top 5. Over a minute ahead of Kent Lefredge, who's had some adventures during these 2 laps, but still in P6, so not a massive disaster, but he's had some offs too in this race. But so has Hytinen and Kuusela, also in P3, so I don't think, apart from Nurmi in P1, I think Nurmi is the only one who's had a clean race so far, as he heads to lap 3 out of 10. And if I can see correctly, the rain might be even getting heavier, because the skies are a bit darker. We could hop on board Nurmi for a while and see how he takes his delage around the Südschleife. The air temperature has gone up 2 degrees Celsius. It's 17 right now, but the track is still a very cold 15 degrees Celsius, so well, the engines might be happy about it, but the tires surely aren't. I can guarantee that. As Kuusela doesn't come to the pit lane, he just smeared across it. Maybe just a quick hello to his pit crew. Some kind words for them, standing in the torrential rain here in the Eiffel Mountains. Here we can see Daniel Withoet. The Brazilian driver who started on pole position, as the grid positions were determined by ballot. Withoet had quite a few offs on lap 1, but he has come back quite a bit. He was down in P16, if I remember correctly, on lap 1, but now he has clawed his way back to P10. So at least an upward trajectory for with Hoet. He's driving the Alfa Romeo. Five seconds away from Teofil Lubomirski. The Polish driver in the Delage, but also 14 seconds ahead of the Dutchman Alex Henry. Also in the Delage, 15 as 8. And in this race, to simulate the era which we are in and the year 1927, Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen. The drivers have had to choose a car which manufacturing year is 1927. At its latest, earlier models are also allowed, as with how it comes to the pit lane. So his first maybe scheduled pit stop right now. Not a lot of those we've had so far this evening. And he drops at least a couple of places right now. Is P13, but Lippi is catching up quite rapidly and goes past. But Mick Tromke is a minute behind, so I don't think, unless with how it has an engine repair going on there that we cannot see from the cameras. But let's see if Tromke can get past with Hoet, who is still in the pit lane. And something has happened to Thomas Kuusela. He's in the fencing right around the beginning of the Nordschleife. And is Kuusela's race over? Oh, that's a big shame. Kuusela has... Oh, engine is running. He's got it back. He's got it back. Okay. And judging by the steering wheel, the suspension is in 2 damage at least. But something clearly not right in that car for Kuusela. As he drops to P5, Anssi Hytiäinen goes obviously past his 50 seconds now behind Hytiäinen, who gets up to P4. But yeah, Tromke didn't get past with Hoet. Just in time the Brazilian returns from the pits, but he's had a bit of an off. Just as we cut to him on the cameras. Four seconds was the gap. And Tromke is getting passed by Peltonen. Peltonen comes past Tromke. And Peltonen keeps his comeback alive. Gets up to P15. Uses all the track and some more doing so. But the good part is we don't care about track limits here. Not in this day and age. And Peltonen is quickly catching with Hoet also. So let's hop on board Peltonen. And I think this will be a quick procedure for him. And yeah, he gets up to P14. And now he has some work to do because he's minute behind Lippi in 12th place. So maybe a little pause from the overtakes for Markus Peltonen at this stage. Something to keep an eye on is that Syvertsen in P3 is catching Kari Uotila in P2. It's 4 seconds now, but let's keep an eye on the timing tower. But on the live pictures we have Teofil Lubomirski catching the Frenchman driving the Italian car. Maybe some controversy in that. But the Polish driver really catching, and has he gone past? He has, yeah. He has made the pass. And Lubomirski gets up to P7. The Delage driver. And Renault has to follow him suit up to Flugplatz. And Kuusela is in the pits, and his engine is also off. So let's hope that he can continue. Some repairs are due, I think, because he was parked alongside the track and he has dropped to P18. So yeah, he must have teleported because he hasn't completed the lap. So I'm afraid that might be the end for Thomas Kuusela's race tonight, as Anssi Hytienen has had some contact with the fencing. It seems to be carrying on quite well. But here we can see what I was talking about earlier. Syvertsen has caught Uotila. As we head to the back portion of the Nordschleife. Heading to the famous Mutkurve, which I think in this year of 1927 wasn't named Mutkurve yet. This one right here. But the gap was over 4 seconds just a minute or two ago. And now it's almost under 1, as Yuri Lobkov has had some adventures. Some collision, but keeps going nonetheless. He's driving the Talbot. And he's the only Talbot driver running anymore because Pereira has DNF'd. Syvertsen still cannot pass Uotila, but he's following really closely as Crozet has had an impact with the walls. I think at least that's what the server tells me, but everything Everything is not right. Yeah, he's returned to the pit, so a big impact, I suppose. As Kuusela is still on the pit lane, so yeah, what we were thinking, his race might be over. But let's follow this neat battle we have going on for P2. Eetu Nurmi still leads by 50 seconds as Uotila has an off. Nothing too dramatic, but gets a little bit closer to the spectators at least. Gives them a good look of his Bugatti. But nothing that Syvertsen can take advantage of. Not yet, at least. And the gap actually increases a bit. 2.2 seconds now. And we're heading to the Dottinger Hoe long straight as Uotila. We can see the distance really sideways before heading to the part of the small carousel. But Syvertsen is a bit too far back. But let's see when we go to the straight next time. Quite the inside line on the small carousel. Kleine Karussell. Oh, and Uotila hits the wall. Uotila hits the wall. A small tap for him. I don't think that caused too much damage. And the gap stays in around 2.5 seconds, so I don't think Syvertsen is coming past this time. Although he's starting to reel in with the superior straight line speed of the Delage compared to Bugatti. Well, let's see actually how close can he get. 1.5. He's caught 1 second already on the straight. 1.2, 1.1. And the spray ahead is getting larger by the meter. Half a second is the gap when we go downhill to Tiergarten. And he's really close now when we go to the main straight. Can he make a pass to the first corner? Really close now for Kai Syvertsen. This is P2 we're talking about, and it looks like it. It looks like it. Can he get the car stopped? Yes, he does. Very nice pass by Syvertsen, who gets up to P2. Lubomirski, in the meantime, was having some adventures of his own, but keeps going after that. As Peltonen, he's already caught Lippi and got past, and now he's taking Rui Lozado. So massive comeback coming from Markus Peltonen, P3 in the championship before this race. and a real what could have been without that crash on lap 2. Alex Henry still chasing Nürburgring, and is he going up for a pass? Shaping up some kind of move there, or nothing doing. Also this battle still commencing. Tromke versus Withoet for P13. Withoet came from the pits right in front of Tromke, and it has stayed that way ever since. And there goes Alex Henry, and now he gets past. Now he gets past Nürburgring for P8. That has been coming a long time. And the Alfa Romeo driver has to give up position for the time being. So far, 5 DNFs from this race. Thomas Kuusala, the latest one before him. Rick Rosé, Moises Pereira, Haley Smith and Tirano Salvaro. The last 2 of which came on lap 1 already. And Pereira right after lap 1 had been completed. Luotila in P3 has dropped quite a lot back from Syvertsen after the battle. Already up to 6 seconds the gap. And Thomas Kuusela gives some information in the live chat. I rolled my car and had to end my race. In real life I would have died. Well, the good thing is, Thomas, you didn't die, because this is sim racing and that's the positive out of this one. But unfortunate thing that hope some better luck will come to you on maybe round 9 of this championship, which is to be held on the 26th of October, the 1928 Coppa a Gerbo. It's held on the Pescara circuit. But that is quite exactly a month away. But let's focus on the round 8, which we have in hand today, the 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen, here at the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke combined circuit, as you would say in English. But yeah, as Ville Korkeakoski states in the live chat, Thomas might need to pay for some repairs though. Maybe not so fast car in the next race. That is true, as we went through the events of the last race, in which we saw 5 drivers getting repair costs from crashes that might head in the way of Kuusala too after this one, and I think many others too. I think Peltonen might have some repairs for the next race. What will that do to his championship? His P3 in the standings. He had quite a big crash already in this one, but he's clawing back the positions as we speak. He's back in the top 10. Vesa Tolonen in P14. He is getting closer to Daniel Withoet, and is he getting past in T1? Not quite this time, but he's really close, and I think we should follow this battle for a while. Vesa has been clawing the gap down for quite some time now. As we head to the Suchleife section. Tolonen able to take really tight lines in his delage. But the track is so narrow that the passing opportunities are quite non-existent, but now he gets a good run. He's on the outside, but completes the pass if he can keep the car on the road, and he does. Great move by Vesa Tolonen, gets up to P13. And after a very rough start for Tolonen, it's looking a bit brighter. But a long way to go. If we think about championship and where Tolonen was before this evening in the championship, he was P5 in points, so and Withoet has an off, quite a big off. Hits the wall at 45 kph. So that might have done some damage to his car. I don't think the Alpha liked it. And Peltonen continuing his charge. Now only 4 seconds behind Ledoux Renault. And the gap is shrinking at an alarming rate. Let's hop on board Peltonen's delage. Mick Tromke also had an off as we spoke, and Vesa Tolonen, just as I said, and he returns to the track right in front of Withoet. Right as I said, it begins to look a bit brighter, and yeah, he gets company from Mick Tromke. Now there are 2 delages making donuts in the Eiffel Forest. That's a sight to behold. Yeah, a crash for Tolonen and Tromke. And Henry is off in Flugplatz. So that must have been a big hit. And as we were watching that, Peltonen has got past Renault for P8. Good job by Markus. And this race will be some kind of an equalizer for the championship, because so far we've had Haley Smith, DNF. He was P6 in the championship. Also Moises Pereira, P10 from the championship, has gone off and DNF. Markus Peltonen is not having the best evening he's ever had, but he's trying to claw it back. He's P3 in the standings. And Alex Henry having quite a eventful evening, to say the least. So there might be some kind of shuffling in the championship order after the Nürburgring race has concluded. Nurmi still in a commanding lead, 52 seconds ahead of Kai Syvertsen. Kari Uotila in P3 and Anssi Hyytiäinen P4. It's all Finnish top 4 at the moment, as Yuri Lobkov has an issue. Where is he? Cannot see. Oh no! He's he's in the bushes. And is he stuck? Does he have to... Can he get it back on the track on his own? Lubomirski coming to the corner and he also makes a mistake. But as you can see, there is somewhere Lobkov on the track, but you cannot see him. That's a camouflage. And Peltonen comes past, so that's a shame. The only Talbot driver running in this race anymore. And he's really struggling to get that car back on the road. He doesn't want to have it pushed back, which is an option. But then again, doesn't really help his case. Yeah, clearly not working. Some movement going on, but yeah, I think he needs to push that back. Ledurano has caught the back of Alex Henry for P8, as we've witnessed that Lobkov incident. And also Markus Peltonen has caught up with Lubomirski. Peltonen already chasing P6 after teleporting back to the pits and being almost a lap down. And if he passes Lubomirski, there's 53 seconds gap up the road to Ken Lefredge. Getting really close now for Peltonen. And there we go, maybe. Oh, do we have some contact? Yeah, small tap on the front right. But Peltonen gets past. Brave overtake on the downhill section. And has Lobkov got the car back running? Yeah, he's making his way in P10, so he has... Not sure has he managed to get that on his own back on the road, but at least he's going. But a big shame, many minutes burnt down in that bush. For him, he was running in P6. And now a distant P10 at this point. Nurmi has already started lap 5 of this race, 5 out of 10. So we're approaching the halfway mark. And Tolonen, after his expeditions, has caught Whitworth again. And now we're about to see an overtake for P13. Not at least before we start the downhill section. We are at Hedvigshöhe. But there's a mistake from Whitworth, and yeah, Tolonen takes the place away. So a small mistake from the Brazilian is all it takes for Vesa Tolonen to take P13. And that this is the closest battle on track right now. Next closest is the P8 situation with Henry and Renault, as Lefredge has some kind of moment at the final turns but keeps going. Doesn't need to come in from this lap. And now it seems that the rain, it's not getting heavier, at least, because the sky is quite a bit brighter, at least in some spots. It looked a much murkier a while ago. Peltonen begins his next lap, and let's see. Last lap for Peltonen was a 14:59 and Lefredge had a 16:02, so over a minute that Peltonen managed to get closer to Kent Lefredge in P5, so we should really follow Peltonen on this lap if he catches Lefredge, as Theophil Lubomirski is in the pits. I suspect a scheduled pit stop for him. Henry and Renault have gone past him, and we follow Yuri Lobkov. And it will be interesting to see if Lobkov also has to come to the pit lane after that adventure that he had on this lap. Here comes Lopko to the main straight. And I think he carries on, yeah, and he takes the place away from Lubomirski too. But what about Tolonen? He has got Rui Lazaro. And he's looking for an overtake. They're coming to the main straight also. Can they get past Lubomirski? Lubomirski gets going from the pit lane, but he has to get up to speed. Lazaro and Tolonen are closing in on him. But Lubomirski keeps his place right now. There we can see he goes past the tunnel as Tolonen and Lazaro follow him. About 5-second gap as Lazaro goes wide. And again, a bit wider, and Tolonen tries to take advantage of this. And there's contact, and Tolonen is in the wall. But he manages to get past Lazaro, but certainly there was quite a big contact. Tolonen has had those tonight. It was an audacious move to go on the outside, but Lazaro couldn't keep his line there and veered across the track. Now Tolonen has 3 seconds. Up to Lubomirski in P8. And the gap is going down really fast, now only 2 seconds, so Tolonen is really determined at this point, and Lubomirski has some difficulties in this turn. Not to say that Tolonen hasn't got some issues stopping the delage. Thomas Kuhsela asks, what are those boxes in the starting or on the main straight and in the pit lane? They are they are a feature here in this track. Let's say that, according to my knowledge. They couldn't get it fixed in time, so we just have to live with those little decorations as Tolonen really closing in on Lubomirski and takes the opportunity, goes down the inside, and he's got it. There's a Tolonen up to P8 as he exits the corner little too eagerly, and Lubomirski takes the place back. Let's see this through. But also keep an eye on Lippi, who is catching Rui Lazaro. Lippi with the Bugatti under him, and Rui Lazaro is driving the older version of the Delage. as we see that Vesa Tolonen takes P8 back from Lubomirski at the beginning of the Nordschleife. And now he is able to keep it, at least for now. And Lubomirski has an off. Hopefully, he can get it stopped. If he went to the banking and the car flipped, that would have been quite a different story, but luckily not. Gotta say that the sounds on that older Delage are quite something else. Especially compared to the Bugatti that Lippi is driving. Yeah, Korkeakoski is absolutely right in the live chat. Clearly all the banging with all the walls only made Vesa faster. That's true. Tolonen has had quite an eventful night, but that hasn't stopped him. And something that isn't to be stopped is Markus Peltonen, who has caught the half-a-minute gap to Kent Lefredge and makes the pass. Gets up to P5. Hats off to Markus Peltonen, who was at one point P18 and half a lap behind. Okay, he still is 4.5 minutes away from the lead, but I mean, we're only halfway there. So, great recovery drive from Markus Peltonen, to say the least. Now we head to see if Lippi can make the pass on Lazaro. Lazaro is able to pull out some gap as we head to the foxhole. But on the braking, Lippi comes a bit closer. Can he make something up using a bit tighter line? But as we get on the accelerator, Lazaro disappears into the distance. So I think we have to wait on this one a bit. If there are no mistakes from either one. Oh, a bit sideways moment from Lippi. Can he get the foot down early enough? No, not yet. Really hustling that Bugatti. As Syvertsen comes to the pits from P2 as we complete lap number 5 with him. So first one to pit out of these lead contenders, as there is a mistake from Rui Lazaro. Also Uotila coming to pit lane, as there is some trouble for Teofil Lubomirski, and he is heading to the side of the track, and is it over for our Polish driver? He's clearly trying to make it back to the road. If we head to the onboard, the engine is off, but he gets it back running, I think. Yeah, and yeah, we are able to continue. And the suspension, excuse me, seems okay, at least drivable. Not the maybe out of the factory condition, but yeah, I think he can get it back to the pits at least, as there is contact made there. Alex Henry has had an off, and Geir Axelen, the Norwegian, has also, and he's out of the race at least for now. Can he get back going? Alex Henry also had an off in the carousel, but Geir Axelen, is he able to continue? As Kari Uotila exits the pit lane back into P4. And I must say that his pit stop, it was about the same as Suvertse, and the gap was about 30 seconds, and it's still under 40, so it looked a bit more when he was accelerating, but yeah, it's still quite the same. So now we are waiting pit stop still from Eetu Nurmi and Anssi Hyytiäinen as Nurmi heads out of the Südschleife and into the Nordschleife. Still, Lippi is unable to take P9 from Rui Lazaro. The Norwegian Axelen is still in the pit lane, so I think this is night done. Certainly seems so. Oh, there's a bit of a white moment from Lazaro there, but he picked his place well, because that is one of the spots that is more unforgiving. Not everywhere you can go a bit wide on the Nordschleife. Alex Henry has had a moment there. Contact, at least. That's what the server says, but he keeps going. We saw him spinning a moment ago in the carousel. And if Axelen is unable to continue, Henry is about to get a position when he crosses the line. It would put him in P15. But we've talked about the things that can go wrong in these races, the repairs and stuff. The engine, for example, it can stall on you, as we maybe saw with Lubomirski a while ago, then you just have to wish that it starts again when you press the ignite. Maybe not this race, but the water can overheat in the engine. Then you have to cool it down by slowing or stopping even. But in this race, maybe the only way to overheat the engine is by damaging your radiator through a contact, in which case that has to be repaired too. Brakes can get damaged and they can wear during the course of the race. You can also have problems with your spark plugs. They can fail. And valve problems can hit. You can also get problems with oil pressure dropping or gears failing in your gearbox. But you can, to my knowledge, get around that by just avoiding those failed gears if you really don't want to fix that in the pits. Fuel pump can also run into troubles. And of course your tires can blow up. In addition to that, your fuel tank can get punctured and start leaking. And as we've seen during this race, you can get stuck in a ditch or into a bush, as Yuri Lopkov demonstrated today. And then you have to push the car with help. Back to the racetrack as Alex Henry has a spin. But that's one of the least harmful spins we've seen today. And he is able to get it back, but there is... Who is that coming past him on the track? It was Vesa Tolonen who came to lap Alex Henry. Tolonen in P7. Ledo Renault and Lippi are also in the pits, so the Lazaro-Lippi battle takes a bit of a break. Okay, Thomas Kuusala gives me information that if you jump to the pits, it should always be a DNF, unless it is a bug in the game. That raises some concerns because we were on board Peltonen when he crashed into the bridge. Then he jumped to the pits and continued, so I'm not gonna say anything to that. I'm just commentating on what I see, but that was what we saw live on the cameras. But that is up to the organizer to decide if that was okay or if there was something bug related to Peltonen's accident, because it seemed weird. Peltonen just drove straight into the barrier, heading down to Flugplatz. But we will see. At least for now, Peltonen is running well in P5. And that is what we have to trust in. Outside of the top 10, Yuri Lopkov, the Talbot driver, the Argentinian, is chasing Yuri Lopkov. Sorry, Alex Henry. Yuri Lopkov is the chasing driver. He's not chasing himself. But he is about 3 seconds behind Alex Henry. You can see him on the foreground. Oh, a little sideways moment for Lopkov there. Nothing too dangerous. We're almost on lap 7. Nurmi in his commanding lead. He's already on the latter stages of the Nordschleife, lap 6. He's managed this race really well. No mistakes from what I've seen. I think he's the only one so far, and it shows. A minute and a half almost to Anssi Hyytiäinen. Although Hyytiäinen is also missing his pit stop. Syvertsen is the real P2 holder at this stage. Meanwhile, Lippi is catching up to Mick Tromke, German driver, in his home race. What can the Finn do in his Bugatti? Oh, Tromke has a moment. Yeah, and he loses the position. Lippi takes P11, so that battle was short-lived. Can Tromke come back at Lippi when we head down to the Nordschleife? Not immediately, at least. Nurmi already starting lap 7 of this race. Really pushing hard onto the main straight. So 4 laps to go in this 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen. Round 8 in the Golden Era Championship, brought to you by Classic Vintage Racers. And if you're interested, they have a Discord and also website vintageracers.eu, where you can get more information if you wanna join the championship. I'm sure they are willing to get more drivers to join this great series, but they have a Discord to join. You can find it on the website, so vintageracers.eu is the way to go, and a long way to go in this series too, because as I said in the beginning of the broadcast, we are only at round 8 of a 25 round championship, and it will span into the year 2027. The last round is to be held on the 7th of February 2027. The 1938. Grosser Preis der Schweiz at Bremgarten. Anssi Hytiäinen makes his pit stop after lap 6, so I would suspect that Syvertsen and Uotila will get past. Here we can see Syvertsen coming into the main straight, and yeah, P2 goes to Syvertsen. Uotila, however, he has dropped a while back from Syvertsen, 20 seconds or so more than after their pit stops, so let's see if he goes past Hytiäinen or not. Going along the Dottingerøe. As it's known today. And on to the final turn comes Kari Uotila, and Hytiäinen still in the pits. As some wild moments for Uotila, but yeah, he takes P3 back. Hytiäinen still standing in the pit lane, but I don't think Peltonen has enough at this point to clear Hytiäinen. Yeah, Hytiäinen gets back going to start lap 7, and Peltonen still making his way on the back straight. We may have some battling between the Alfa Romeo drivers, Ledu Renault and Daniel Withoet, are separated by 2 seconds only. And the two only Alfa drivers in this race maybe are heading into a dogfight among themselves. And still on lap 7 the rain is pummeling the track. Maybe not so heavily as in the beginning. On lap 2 or 3 we had quite the shower, but it has been consistent throughout. Very traditional weather in the Eifel Mountains. It's almost more than a guarantee that it may rain on a race day when we go to Nürburgring. And this one is no exception. With Hoyt catching all the time. 1.5 seconds the gap between him and Renault. But still not an overtaking opportunity for the Brazilian. Now under a second. Let's hop on board of Daniel Withoet. The man who started from pole position to this race has had some mishaps, but still going strong, and now he's really shaping up for a move on the Frenchman Renaud. But a good defensive driving from the other Alpha. How long can Renaud keep that up? Oh, a bit of an understeering moment for Vitoet. Manages to keep it on the road. But you could see right away he touched the puddle on the inside of the corner and it just veered him straight to the outside, and once again a bit of a leery moment for the Brazilian driver. But he manages it quite well. Let's look back from Renaud's point of view as we're staring into the mist, and Renaud is also looking, glancing behind him as he's blasting on the straight. And let's see what's happening to P4 at the moment. Hytiainen's got some problems because Peltonen goes past and Anssi Hytiainen's pace has disappeared. Has he had an off somewhere? It certainly looks difficult to drive that Delage. And this will have a certain effect on the championship, because before this round Hytiainen and Nurmi were level on points, and now Hytiainen is in trouble. He has 2.5 minutes back to Lefredge on P6, but look at the state of that car. It's not looking anywhere as rosy as it was a minute back for Hytiainen. Peltonen already 15 seconds ahead. So now Anssi must just survive back to the pits. But unfortunately he's only in the beginning of the Nordschleife quad. And this one is shaping up to be a good battle, because the Alpha drivers have caught up to Rui Lazaro on P8. And now it's a three-way fight. The older model Delage is getting some company from the Italian Alfa Romeos. Huusela is right. In the chat, Peltonen might have to still come to the pit lane at this stage as with Hoet shapes up a move against Renault, but nothing doing there. Because Peltonen visited the pit lane earlier in the race, but it was after that crash. He hasn't conventionally come through the pits as of yet. So let's see if he can save fuel and tires for the remainder of the race. But Renault is really giving a hard time for Rui Lazaro. Here we can see he's really close. But there's no passing there. Maybe now. Good exit. Good exit. And he goes for it. He goes for it. On the brakes. And yes, he does it. He does it, yeah. Good pass by Ledoux Renault. The Frenchman gets up to P8. And also, with Hoet comes past on the same opening. As Tromke has had an off somewhere, but manages to keep going. And let's take a look at Hytiainen's trundling. He's already dropped back a minute behind Peltonen after the overtake, as Lubomirski has had an off on the Suchleife. But yeah, Hytiainen really struggling now. Lefredge has taken 45 seconds out of the gap between P5 and P6. I'm still waiting if... Oh, there's been a puncture. Eetu Nurmi, the leader. The right rear tire has blown. But he's making his way already from the last corner. But now surely he has to pit, but the right rear tire, it's given up. So a first little bit of misfortune for Nurmi, but again, lucky that he was so close to the pits, and gap to Syvertsen was several minutes. So he should survive on a simple tire change at that point, if he hasn't collided with the barriers somewhere. But now the leader is in, at least. And let's see what Syvertsen can do on that matter. As Yuri Lobkov has hit the barriers and is into the pit, so Yuri Lobkov's race might be over, the Talbot driver. And it certainly seems so. But the two Alfa Romeos can't get rid of each other. Renault and Vitoet still separated only by 1.5 seconds. And now let's see. Syvertsen is coming to the main straight and Nurmi is still in the pit lane. So are we about to see a lead change? No, Nurmi just starts now from the pit lane as Syvertsen comes to the main straight, but the gap has disappeared. It really has. It's only 4 seconds, so this could be on for a battle for the win. But we have to remember that Nurmi's pace has been something out of this world during this race, but Syvertsen, at least now he has a chance. Three laps to go. We will see. 4.5 seconds is the gap between P1 and P2. Neither of them have to come to the pit again, as Rui Lazaro has some adventures of his own. But let's head back to the battle of the Alphas. Because this has been going on for quite a few laps at this point. Renault goes a bit wide. Maybe offering a chance for Vitoet. Not just yet. The gap under a second momentarily. And Syvertsen is really giving a hard time for Nurmi in the lead. The gap only 2 seconds now. So after all the drama, we might be seeing a battle for the win as Vitoet goes to the inside of Renault. But the run that Renault gets from the outside line is too much for the Brazilian. Oh, Lubomirski. The Polish driver has spun. Gets it going again. But let's get back to this epic battle, have to say. And there goes Daniel Vitoet takes P8 from Le Du Renault. The Frenchman has been passed. As we still see Hytiainen dragging his car back to the pits. That must have been the longest 25K of his life. And still a few to go, as Lubomirski has had another off somewhere. Now Syvertsen has dropped back to 5 seconds from Nurmi, so Nurmi has found some pace. And P5 is gonna go to Lefredge at this point. The gap is 8 seconds and shrinking all the time. Here comes the Canadian. And Hytiainen must come to the pit lane. And there we go. Hytiainen into the pits and Lefredge takes P5 of the race. 3 laps to go for the Bugatti driving Canadian. And if there are a lot of repairs for Hytiainen, even Vesa Tolonen might get past him, so P6 is on the threat. Also, let's see. Tolonen, who has also gone to hell and back during this race, has managed to get a good momentum during the last 5 laps. Claude his way back to P7, and now maybe even P6 is on the table for the Finn. What can Nick Trumke do about Rui Lazaro? He can overtake him because Lazaro is in trouble. The Delage is looking quite ill, and does it even stall on him? No, now he gets it back. But the German goes past, and so does Lippi. Lippi goes past Lazaro. And what can Tolonen do about Hytiainen? Hytiainen comes out of the pits, but Vesa Tolonen takes P6 away from Anssi Hytiainen. Three laps to go for them also. But a change of position for these two. Can Hytiainen fight back? He's at the pace, but no room for errors in the last 3 laps. And Trumke is facing the wrong way, giving a show for the spectators. Not the home race he would have wanted. And Rui Lazaro has stalled the engine again, and it's quite the steep uphill. If he get up here, it's smooth sailing because it's a downhill section for several kilometers. But it's painfully slow at the moment. Now he can get it back. And Hytiainen has caught up to Tolonen. As we head back from the Südschleife. But good defense from Tolonen. Places his car in the middle of the road. And Tolonen is known to be a very capable defensive driver. But how long can he hold Anssi Hytiainen behind? Oh, that's a moment for Tolonen, but no, nothing to worry about. But Tolonen is really under pressure now. Now we're heading into a long straight, what can Anssi Hytiäinen do? He gets a really good run as we're heading to the Nordschleife, and now Tolonen, I think he's defenseless. Yeah, Hytiäinen takes P6 back as Renault is in the pits. So the Alfa Romeo battle ends for now, and has he actually teleported back because Whitworth is here? And what happens to Eetu Nurmi? Eetu Nurmi is out. And he's stopping by the road. Syvertsen takes the lead. And can Nurmi get back running? The man who has controlled everything from start to almost finish is sitting still at the edge of the track, and it's right before Mutkurve. And Renault seems to be out of the race, but is Eetu Nurmi gonna have the same fate? Uotila is still running P3 and closing up fast. Nurmi still. No! Eetu Nurmi is out, ladies and gentlemen. It's over for Eetu Nurmi. What a dramatic twist in this round 8 of the Golden Era Championship. The points leader is out. With a little more than 2 laps to go. Eetu Nurmi is out of the race. And this changes everything. If we saw some unlucky moments for Hytiäinen, which we are seeing again, because oh my god, this can't be true. The other points leader has punctured a tire. Tolonen has got past, and Hytiäinen is missing a left front tire. And the duo that was level on points in the lead of the championship might not score anything in this one. Nurmi is out and Hytiäinen is at the beginning of the Nordschleife with 3 tires. Take notes, Hollywood riders, because this this is something totally different. Drama continues, as Thomas Kuusela says in the chat. I'm just speechless. Just speechless. There goes Hytiäinen off the road. And he has a long way, almost 20 kilometers back to the pits. While Peltonen is catching Uotila now. Peltonen, who also had a crash, continued from the pits. It's unclear why this happened, but Peltonen carried on, and now he's catching Uotila for P2. As Tromke is in trouble once again. A little spin for him. Not the first one. But if we ask him, it could be the last. For what he can hope. Peltonen really catching Uotila now. As Lah is overtaken by Henry. But what a disaster for Eetu Nurmi. It looked like it's entirely in his command and his race to win, but Apparently it was his to lose. First a puncture right before his pit stop and then a total disaster. We missed what happened, but I suspect some kind of a crash. And if it looked grim for Anssi Hyytiäinen a couple of laps ago, now it's looking really good for him in terms of the championship. His biggest rival is out of this one. But it's not gonna be smooth sailing for Hyytiäinen either. He has to figure out what to do to that tire. Does he stop and try to change it on site? Or trundle back to the pits and make another pit stop? He has almost 3 minutes to Daniel Withoet, but the gap is coming down rapidly. And if Hyytiäinen doesn't have a spare tire, which it seems he doesn't, then he has to come to the pits as Peltonen takes P2. The man who was P19 and half a lap down is now in the second position of this race when Syvertsen starts the penultimate lap. Oh, this is something else. I have commentated on crazy races before, but yeah, it's up there. But now Tolonen gets his 5th place. He's driving in a really good place right now. Minute and a half behind and minute and a half in front. Nothing to worry about at this point. And Peltonen isn't able to go till the end. He has to pit. He has to pit, so Uotila gets his 2nd place back. But I think this should be enough to get back into 3rd place even after this pit stop. Rui Lazaro is also in the pits behind Peltonen. Did he miss his pit box? Think so. Hyytiäinen making his way in the middle part of Nordschleife, heading towards Mutkurv. But as you can see, he's missing something important. The front left is gone. And so are the hopes of Anssi's top 5 finish. I think I can say it at this point. The skies are getting clearer, but doesn't really do much for Hyytiäinen. And Peltonen, after his pit stop, comes back in P3 as I suspected. But Syvertsen, he is having a good time. Syvertsen, who was before this round in the point standings, P17. He's really gonna up his game if he can take this win. Nurmi is out and Hytienen is really struggling. Also, Alex Henry, P4 in the championship. He's only in P14. Well, he's gonna gain a position from Eetu Nurmi because he is DNF. And also Kari Uotila, he's P2. He was 7th in the standings before this round. This is gonna have a good impact on his campaign. Of course, Markus Peltonen, P3 in the championship, P3 right now, also enjoying his time after all the drama and twists. Little bit over 1.5 laps to go. We're on the penultimate lap of the 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen in the Nürburgring Gesamtstrecke. This simulates the opening race for the Nürburgring facility. And what a race has it been. We've had quite a bit of everything, I would say. And still a way to go. Hytienen still on his way back to the pits. Tolonen starting lap 9 in P5. Have to also mention the Canadian Kent Lefredge. He has driven a really solid race. And he was P22 in the standings before this race, so if he can bring home a P4, he's gonna climb up some places. Teofil Lubomirski, Polish driver, P9. At the moment he's somewhat catching Lippi in P8. The gap is still about 8 seconds, but it is getting smaller. Slowly, but it is. So I wonder if Lubomirski can challenge Lippi or P8 in the closing stages. Now he's really catching Lippi when we head to the downhill section. Only 5 seconds now. And now Hytiäinen finally gets to the main straight and has to make a pit stop to change that blown front left tire. And I think Daniel Withoet will take P6 from Hytiäinen during this procedure. Withoet with his Alpha. He is coming to the main straight now. And Hytiäinen still in the pits, and the Brazilian takes P6 away from the Finn. And will Lubomirski take P8 away from another Finn? Lippi is under pressure. Only 1 second now, the gap. And Lubomirski goes for it. Lippi doesn't really fight it too much. And the Polish man takes P8 from Lippi. Hytiäinen still in the pit lane. There's 2 minutes gap to Lubomirski, but no, Hytiäinen comes back on the track. But the gap to Withoet is 47 seconds with 2 laps remaining. I don't necessarily think that Hytiäinen can take that much time out of Withoet in the last 50 kilometers, but we will see. He has some work to do, at least 50 seconds is the gap. Peltonen also has some work to do. The gap to Uotila was over 30 seconds in the beginning of this lap, but now it's 23 seconds, so he's really trying to fight back to P2. But it will take a great effort from Markus Peltonen. Great looking driving from Peltonen, as Lubomirski is in the pit lane, so he loses that P8 to Lippi, and Renault also gets past the Polish driver, as Mick Tromke has another adventure. On the back straight, or coming up to it. Oh, sorry, this is heading to the main straight, so on the last corner. Bremgarten, as it's known nowadays. Peltonen really catching now up to Uotila. The gap is only 16 seconds. So when we head to the final lap in a few minutes time, I think it's still on. Surely it's on for Peltonen. So Vertsen is already heading to the back stretch and along it, about to start his final lap. So another 15 minutes, another 28 and a bit kilometers to get through. For Kai Syvertsen. Now we're on the last lap. The drivers must be getting a bit tired at this point. We've driven for over 2.5 hours at this point. But you still have to have that focus. Because one small mistakes, especially in these conditions, it can be all over. As we can see, Lubomirski has an off. This is on the Südschleife. Uotila about to start his last lap. And Peltonen only 11 seconds behind, so it's gonna be a difficult final lap for Kari Uotila. But even more so an interesting one for Markus Peltonen. Can he catch up to Uotila? Nine and a half seconds. And when you know it's Markus Peltonen, you can't take anything for granted. When Uotila starts to see Peltonen in his mirrors, it's not gonna be a fun moment. Eight and a half. 7.5. It's getting down at about 1 second per kilometer, so yeah, it's looking really good for Markus Peltonen. Anssi Hytienen, after his pit stop, hasn't been able to catch with Hoeth at all. It's still 50 seconds. The gap between P6 and P7. Now Uotila responds. The gap back to 8 seconds when we're on the Südschleife for the final time. Bugatti versus Delage. Uotila with the Bugatti. Bugatti Type 35B versus Delage 15S8. 6.9. Smallest it has been so far. And still it's raining a bit, but the rain has eased off quite a bit too. It's barely visible anymore, the rain. And the conditions are getting better. Markus Peltonen's best lap, 14 minutes 16 seconds. It's over half a minute faster than the next fastest lap in this race. So Peltonen really pushing it. Now the gap is 3 seconds as they head to Nordschleife section for the final time. And Markus Peltonen really wants that second place. The win, that's out of reach. It's 90 seconds ahead. Unless Syvertsen does something stupid. Oh, Lippi has had an off. And does it seem terminal? I don't think. We can still hear the engine somewhat. But there comes Renault, and is there a gap to go through? Yes. And Lippi gets back. Lippi gets back going. That's good. Lefrech starts his final lap too. And let's see, we're heading into Flugplatz with Markus Peltonen. The gap is 2 seconds. Getting it down to 1 seconds. And it might be too much to ask for Kari Uotila to hold that second position. But I'm sure he will try. As Vesa Tolonen enters the pit lane on the final lap. A short pit stop for him. Maybe some refueling there. He has the gap to do it, so nothing to worry about. Uotila responds. 1.8 now the gap between him and Peltonen. Now Peltonen gets back within 0.3 of a second, and is this the moment? When Peltonen takes P2, he goes to the inside. And there we have it. Markus Peltonen gets back to P2 after a long hard charge behind, clawing over 40 seconds from Kari Uotila, taking the place on the final lap. As we would say in Finland, hattu päästä to Markus Peltonen. Hats off. Uotila tries to fight back, but I think Peltonen's pace is a bit too much. And not a long way to go for Kai Syvertsen anymore. One final visit at the carousel. Takes it gently and carefully. He has 1 minute and 25 seconds back to Peltonen. Not a worry in the world in the form of a competitor, but the conditions are still quite treacherous. And still over 10 kilometers to go. Lubomirski still catching Lippi on this final lap. Well, it's not their final lap actually. No, it's their last lap. Yeah. Apologies for that. No, it actually isn't when I double check. They are only just heading into the Kleine Carousel for the final time, as Anssi Hytiäinen is beginning his final lap but comes to the pits once again. So Hytiäinen, more trouble on the penultimate lap. Not a long way to go, but still, even on one lap can bring some harm. But not a long way to go for Syvertsen anymore. He has done everything right, although he may have got some help from Eetu Nurmi. But then again, Syvertsen put some pressure on Nurmi, which I think ultimately led to Nurmi's DNF today. Though we didn't see the moment that led to Nurmi parking it alongside the track. Lubomirski has caught Lippi when they begin their final lap. Onto the main straight. Lubomirski on the inside, and even on the straight he gets past Lippi to take 9th place. But still the final lap to go through. Not so much for this guy, Kai Syvertsen. The Finn driving the Delage has conquered the Eiffel Mountains, has conquered the Nürburgring. And in a few corners time, he will have crossed the finish line as a winner. As Kent Lefredge on the final lap. Has he gone into the ditch? Yeah, the same ditch that Yuri Lobkov had. But yeah, he tows the car or pushes it back. But here comes Kai Syvertsen. He is the winner of the 1927 Nürburgring Eröffnungsrennen. It's done. And Lefredge might have some company by Vesa Tolonen in the closing stages for P4 after that pushback to the circuit. And Vesa Tolonen might even take P4 today. But here comes one hell of a fighter, Markus Peltonen. He takes 2nd place today, and that is totally deserved, if you ask me. There comes Peltonen across the finish line. Behind him, 10 seconds away, Kari Uotila. Also a good race. Not a match for Peltonen or Syvertsen today, but a podium finish. And Vesa Tolonen has got past Kent Lefredge on the final lap. When we're heading into the Mutkurve. And we have inside knowledge on Nurmi's DNF. Thomas Kuusela on the live chat says that Nurmi had a gearbox failure, so that's just unfortunate. That's not even Nurmi's fault. So a dominant victory turns into a massive disappointment for Nurmi. On pure pace, he was the winner today, but sometimes in motorsport, real or digital, pace is not always king. Tolonen isn't able to drop Lefredge right away, and Lefredge has a look outside the carousel, but does he spin it? Almost. So close to turning it around. But keeps it on the island. Only just. But looking good for Tolonen. Who gets a 5-second gap as a gift. Lefredge having some moments again. But let's put it this way. Who would have thought on lap 2 or 3 that Markus Peltonen would finish second and Vesa Tolonen would be running in 4th place? And Eetu Nurmi would DNF on a gearbox failure. For the final time, Tolonen into the kleine Karussell. Over 10 seconds now to Kent Lefredge. So no threat from behind. Rui Lazaro also has crossed the finish line, 1 lap behind. He's P12 today. But here comes Vesa Tolonen, who takes a solid P4 today after all the twists and turns. Tolonen is P4 on the flag. And Ken Lefredge, also a good evening. Although P4 slipped away on the final lap. P5, I think he still takes it quite happily. Daniel Withoet getting closer on his final lap. He is going to take a P6 today. But as we follow the rest of the drivers into the finish at this point, I myself would like to thank each and every one of you in the audience and all the drivers who participated today. The commentator booth will silence themselves from today. This has been round 8 of the Golden Era Championships, hosted by Classic Vintage Racers. If you got interested, go visit their website vintageracers.eu to find out more about this championship and other activities. Join the Discord to get into the action. This has been a great race won by Kai Syvertsen. But from the commentator's booth, thank you, good night, and have a good one. Bye bye.